Welcome one and all to Dragonfire. I hope you'll enjoy today's video, and maybe we'll even help some people along the way. Maybe even you. Our first story today is by a young lady that thinks she might be an AH for walking out on her BF at dinner.
AITA for canceling dinner when my boyfriend brought a bell to the diner to grab the staff's attention. This might sound bad, but I don't know if I was TA here. I, female 30, have been dating my boyfriend Rhett, male 31, for 4 months. We live in different towns, and he's not from here. He's American living here. He usually visits on the weekends. This time I decided to visit his town and eat out at a diner. Rhett was already there when I arrived at the diner. We talked some, checked the menu. Then when it was time to order, he pulled a small bell out of his jacket pocket, lifted it up, then started shaking it. It produced a loud, annoying sound. My ears started hurting. I was so confused, I asked what he was doing, and he said that he was trying to get one of the waiter staff's attention. I said it was embarrassing, and he should stop right then, but he kept shaking it. I cannot begin to explain the looks we received from everyone. I demanded him to stop, but he said not till someone came and took our order. I threatened to leave the place and cancel dinner if he wouldn't, and he kept doing it. Someone came already, but I'd already gotten up, took my purse, and started making my way out. He followed me and started arguing about walking out, but I told him that I couldn't take being embarrassed by him, and he got upset and said that he didn't get why I thought the bell was embarrassing. Explained that it was a perfect solution for no longer be forced to wait till someone shows up. I asked if it was acceptable to do this in America, and he said yes, because it's a free country and people there usually don't give a fudge. But I said it's inappropriate and embarrassing here. He said I was being too sensitive and overreacted over nothing. He insisted we go back inside, but I refused. We ended up leaving. He kept on about how I ruined dinner by canceling it and offending him by acting like his behavior is shameful. I said I had a right to give an opinion on what he's done, even if he thought what he was doing, but he basically told me to get off my high horse and stop calling his genius idea embarrassing. He's been sulking for days now and wanting an apology. Maybe I overreacted, maybe it's nothing where he lives, but here it's just unacceptable.
Oh my God. I don't think that's acceptable anywhere. No, you are in no shape, form, or way an a-hole. But he is, though, and a really, really, really big one, too. What he was doing was rude, ignorant, and entitled. He might as well have been doing the whole Karen fingersnap thing. As for it being a genius idea, yes, it's a genius idea to get you kicked out of every restaurant you go to. Let's check out some other comments. My guess is if you did this at a restaurant here in the States, there would be plenty of extra seasoning added to your food. And this reply hits the nail on the head. Another American here. How disgusting, and thank your, hopefully, ex-BF for perpetuating the wonderful, ugly American stereotype. NTA, but he is. Don't waste your time on this one. Our next one involves a guy who is expecting his firstborn, but his wife and sister-in-law decided on a name for her without him.
AITA for telling my wife I'm not okay with her naming our daughter with her sister instead of me. My wife, 26 female, is pregnant with our first child. She did a test to determine the gender of the baby early in her pregnancy, first trimester, and we found out we were going to be parents to a little girl. Really quickly, we decided our daughter was going to be named Adora. The name holds special meaning to us. She was always a huge fan of She-Ra and loved the OG show and the remake. We actually bonded over the remake show. I, 27 male, thought it was a sweet name and loved that it had a deeper personal connection for the two of us. The middle name was still not entirely set in stone, but the first name was. My wife is now 6 months pregnant, and her twin sister is expecting a baby boy 3 months after our daughter is due. 3 weeks ago, they started talking about baby names, and all of a sudden, my wife told me that she and her sister decided the babies should have timeless names that fit with their family names. Emily and Elizabeth, James and Haley, their parents, William, Hannah, and Grace, their siblings. So my wife and her sister chose the name Catherine for our daughter instead, and my sister-in-law's son will be Alexander. I was hurt and more than a little peeved. My wife asked me why I had that expression on my face, and I told her I was not okay with her naming our daughter with her sister instead of me. I told her we had chosen the name Adora. She never expressed second thoughts about the name. We were just working on a middle name. I told her I was supposed to be the baby's other parent, not her sister, yet she takes her sister's opinion on board and decides they'll name the child we're having together. I told her I had not expected that from her, that I thought she truly respected me and was excited to be on this journey together. She asked me if I was really that upset about it, and I said yes. I told her I wouldn't lie and say I was okay with it. I told her she basically cut me out of the process in the end if she were to go ahead with this. My wife has been quiet since this. Her sister was furious with me for telling my wife I wasn't okay with it. She told me I should respect their twinness, and I got to make all other decisions with my wife, so why was I being such an about this? She told me to get over myself, and then she accused me of acting like a child. AITA.
My dude, you're NTA. They shouldn't have cut you out of the naming process at all. My wife and I have 2 children, and we decided on their names as a team. Oh sure, some people tried putting their 2 cents in, but at the end of the day it was our decision, not theirs. Besides, Adora is a real pretty name. We never thought of it, mostly because we didn't much care for the show. We were more Team He-Man all the way, sorry. Let's see what some others think. Wonder what the sister-in-law would do if OP and sister-in-law's husband got together and started picking names for the children. And maybe wife and sister-in-law can move in together and raise these children, and OP and your brother-in-law can find other people who want to be in a marriage with a partner and not play second fiddle to the twins. Our last story for the day is about a new bride who thinks she might be an because she did not try harder to invite her parents to her wedding.
AITA for not telling my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding? Buckle up, guys. This will be kinda long. So I, 27 female, have a younger brother, Mike, 21 male. He is the definition of a man-child and a mama's boy, always complaining, always expecting others to bow to him. Just overall, an Ever since he was born, my parents fussed over him for everything. He's not special needs or had a traumatic birth or anything of the sort. He was just born. And my parents completely discarded me, my mom especially. She went from a loving mother to one of those boy moms that people make fun of on the internet. My father still showed me love and support, but he's always been too much of a coward to stand up to my mother and let me win at least once. The only one who stood up for me was my grandpa, who always called my parents out on their BS and never liked my brother. I remind him of his late wife, my grandma, and we have a very special bond. But he lives on the other side of the country, and I could never see him often. Mike knows our mom prefers him and loves to shove it in my face. Because of this and his behavior, we've always been at odds. He's spoiled, a brat, and an awful human. I can't remember how many times I ended up in trouble for things I did better than him or for things he framed me with. His only talent are his football skills. He won a scholarship to a nice college out of state. My parents didn't spend a dime on my education because apparently my fund had been used to cover expenses after a fire, just for me to discover years later that said money were given to Mike to buy a car and a house. It's at public university that I met Lucas. He was the first person I was really drawn to there. Of course, I met new people who are now my dearest friends, and thanks to them and Lucas, who was my best friend for years before we got together, I managed to move out of my parents' house. Now, both Lucas and I are well known in our fields and have very good salaries. Now, to the main issue. Lucas proposed to me a year ago. We're very private people, so we didn't post it on social media or anything, and when I told my parents, they dismissed it with a, "That's nice." I'm starting to think they downright didn't listen to me at all. We decided that we wanted a nice but simple ceremony and reception with our friends and relatives. Lucas convinced me to invite my parents and brother. but they never responded to the invite. And whenever I went to visit and began to talk about my wedding, without mentioning it was a wedding, my mom would always speak over me and about my brother's accomplishments and wild adventures. At one point I got fed up with it and interrupted my mom to tell her that there was an event I was planning to organize whose date was unmovable. She told me that they couldn't attend because my brother was playing the last game of the season that very same day and wanted them to be there. Of course, this favoritism didn't surprise me. They missed my ballets, shows, and both my high school and university graduation for things about him. At this point, I wanted to be petty. I told both my parents that it wasn't a problem to miss this event, purposely omitted the fact that this event was my wedding and didn't insist further. Flash forward to a few weeks ago, I got married. It was perfect. My family, Lucas's family, and our friends were all there, and we had a blast. My grandpa was happy to give me away, and it was just perfect. My relatives asked me multiple times why my parents weren't there with us. I was honest and simply said they had my brother's game to attend and couldn't come. They gave me a few looks, and my grandpa was visibly angry for a while, but otherwise nothing strange happened. After the reception, Lucas and I left for our honeymoon and were phone-free for the whole duration of the trip. But once we got back, we discovered that a storm was welcoming us home. I turned my phone on and was unable to even unlock it before a storm of notifications popped up. Most of them were from my mother and brother. Mike called me all sorts of nasty names and insulted me because, apparently, one of my paternal aunts posted the photos of the wedding on Facebook and captioned it with a very obvious dig at my parents, especially my mom, for missing the wedding. The post apparently went viral in my parents' community, and they've been publicly shamed for their mistreatment of me. It also turns out that my grandpa personally visited my parents to go on a tirade to shame my father, his son, to the point of tears. And this seemed to be my father's breaking point, because he was so distraught for missing his only daughter's wedding and for his father's disapproval that he finally rebelled against my mom and is threatening divorce unless she makes it up to me. I think that's the reason why my mom has been spamming my phone with messages. At first insulting and threatening, and then downright pitiful, full of begging and pity parties. Now I'm at home with my husband, deciding how to approach the situation. Most of my relatives, even those I didn't invite to the wedding, reached out to apologize for what I went through and to claim they had no idea this was happening at home. Can't blame any of my relatives. They all live with my grandpa on the other side of the country or in another state. But my mom's sisters and friends are belittling me for not telling my mom about the wedding, because now she's inconsolable at the thought of having missed my wedding. Personally, I think she just claims that to save face, but I'm not sure. The latest messages from my father and mother seem extremely saddened and hurt for missing my wedding. Now my family is divided on 3 fronts. The majority who is sticking by my side, my maternal aunts shaming me for hurting my mom's feelings, and my maternal grandparents who are adamant that I forgive my mom in light of her atonement. My best friends are telling me not to listen to them. AITA.
You know what? When someone has horrible parents, they can either fail at life because of them or succeed at life in spite of them. And you have definitely succeeded at life. You have a great career and a great husband, all without your parents' help. You should be very proud of your accomplishments. As for them missing your wedding, well, you said you did send them an invite and they just didn't respond to it. So maybe they deserved a bit of public shaming. Well, I think that's where we'll end it for today. But remember, we all have choices we have to make in life. Be it whether or not you should dump your boyfriend for his rude behavior in a restaurant, or should you be upset if you're completely cut out of naming your firstborn? Or should you have done more to get your parents to understand that the event they'll be missing is your wedding? The choices we make defines us and forges our destiny. So, choose wisely. When it comes to choosing wisely, please choose to hit like and subscribe. It'll really help our channel out. And don't forget, nothing burns brighter than the truth, except maybe for Dragonfire.